the first question, you lost a significant amount of weight when you retired. I mean, it was immediate. And you look downright svelte. Like you had cut and abs. Did you ever know that you had abs like that?
Well, that's what I was trying to find out. I thought they were down there somewhere. So yeah, for about 5 minutes I had abs. I took a picture, and then I went out for pizza, and I haven't seen them since.
It was good for a good while it lasted. But seriously, I mean, that's an issue that a lot of you guys, meaning offensive linemen, you face when you retire. Some guys just stay or get huge, but you're not working out as much, so it's detrimental. Other guys lose a lot of weight. How did you decide, or how do you decide what your life is going to be like?
Well, I think the one thing you just said is you have to decide, and you have to realize when you're done playing. I don't think we realize how much or how many calories we actually burn during the week when we're playing and everything's regimented. All of a sudden you retire and you got all this free time, and it's up to you whether you want to go to the gym or not. It's up to you if you want to eat healthy or not. But I was fortunate in the sense that I was always the guy. I'd eat 2 burritos the night before the weigh-in, or an entire pizza. I had to work to keep it on to a certain extent.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
It wasn't that hard for me to get it off.
Yeah, I didn't have nearly as much weight to lose as you did, but it was the same. I mean, I was stuffing myself because I needed to be 200 and whatever, 10 pounds. And I'm like 180, so it was easy to come down. We're talking to Matt Birk, former offensive lineman, and you've been involved with a lot of things since you've left the game, including working for the NFL Office of Football Development, which I'll get to in a second. But along the lines of kind of what we were just talking about, I want to hit me with this after the impact fund that I know you are involved with, and we had Dan Reeves on yesterday, who's also involved with, to talk about this. And I didn't get in depth with the player situations that I'm sure you come across. When guys leave the league, there is a sense of worth that I think sometimes loses. It gets lost in them. They don't know what they want to do professionally. Sometimes they run into financial difficulties. God forbid they have post-concussive or CTE type issues that deal with. What are you guys trying to do with after the impact in this fund?
Well, we're trying to get to the guys that need the help the most. The guys that, like you said, I don't care how successful you are, who you are. When you leave the game, you talk about worth. I would also use the word identity. A lot of us, we see ourselves as football players. That's part of who we are, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And so there's a transition there. It's a process that you have to go through, and I think it's hard for just about everybody. But then if you pile on top of that some medical conditions, whether it's pain or orthopedic issues, and the toughest, which are the traumatic brain injuries or PTSD or CT. Those are the guys that are on the brink of doing something that's unthinkable. They're having suicide ideation, and those are the ones that we're trying to help with after the Impact Fund. We have a facility in Jacksonville that'll be ready in a few months, and an inpatient facility where guys can receive all the services they need: neurocognitive, behavioral, orthopedic, pain management, life skills, transition training, all of that while being paired with a military veteran, which we found out the last 4 years by having the Eisenhower Center in Ann Arbor ran a pilot program, and they found that because the populations of the military and football are very alike, so there's a mutual respect there and admiration, and when you pair those two together, they actually help each other heal better and faster and stronger because they inspire each other and they encourage each other.
Now, it sounds like a wonderful program. AfterTheImpactFund.org is a way to find out about more information about it and also support it, because I think that's the important thing. It's interesting when I think about the relationship that NFL players have with the military because of what we do. And you remember this, Matt, when you were young like I was. We'd always have these cliches like, we're going into battle, in the trenches, I don't want this guy. And then kind of when 9/11 happened and all these other things, like the military really came to the forefront of our minds. And I stopped using those things because it didn't make sense. But when I interact with those who have served our country, I'm always fascinated by them and their sacrifice. But conversely, they're fascinated by me and my ability to play the game. And that's really the connection, right?
Absolutely. I was always blown away. And like you, played for coaches who had deep respect for the military, so they would invite them to practice, and they would talk to us after practice, and they would always talk about how they admired what we did, and it was you kind of blown away. Like it doesn't really make sense to me. I mean, obviously, as football players, we don't do anything nearly as important what our men and women in the armed forces do, but I get it from the standpoint that we're a lot alike. You know, we're team oriented, we're tough, we're mission driven, and for a lot of them, when they're deployed, the NFL that was their escape, that was their break every week. You know, to get up at 3 a.m. and watch their team play, and it gave them an escape from the crazy serious stuff that they were involved in. So, like I said, it's very humbling when you hear military talk about football players and how they feel about it. But you're exactly right. I mean, you just can't show or express the respect that we have for them because what they do is so vitally important.
Yeah, no, and I respect a lot what you and Dan Reeves and other people are doing with the After the Impact Fund. Again, aftertheimpactfund.org. We're talking to Matt Birk, former offensive lineman here on Tiki and Tierney. A question for you, given a job that you used to have. I'm not sure you're still here. I know you're consulting with the NFL, but the NFL Office of Football Development does a few things, including, what happens in games, developing coaches and players. There are some openings that are going to happen in the National Football League, and I'm wondering, since you were kind of on the inside here, the Rooney Rule that we always talk about, how much is that actually adhered to, or is it just kind of a let's get the token conversation in with this guy who's just not ready, but we got to interview him?
Yeah, I think it's adhered to. Teams have to follow it, and for the most part, they want to, and it's obviously well intentioned. I don't think it's worked to the extent that everyone had hoped to, and that's one of the things we're trying to address. In the last few years, we've had some symposiums and some workshops for sort of that next generation of head coaches and general managers, and we're always sensitive to make sure that we include as many minorities as we can because we want them to succeed. Everybody wants them to succeed, regardless of race. Being a head coach or a general manager in the NFL is a tough job.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. You're under the microscope. You don't have nearly the runway that you used to. I mean, you've got sometimes only 1 year, but 2-3 years max to turn a program or a team or an organization around. And it's really hard to know what it's like to sit in that seat until you're there. So there's been a concerted effort the last few years to offer some more resources, some mentoring to those guys who are going to be in that seat very soon. And we just keep trying ways to figure out how to get minorities more opportunities, more legitimate opportunities at those jobs. And as far as football development is concerned, the best thing we can do is try to make sure they're as prepared as possible, not just for the interviews, but also for the job themselves.
Yeah, no, because and as I know, some of our coaches would stay there, I mean, literally all night. They wouldn't go home for like a week. They wouldn't see their families because they're overthinking this. I wonder, Matt, if it's worth trickling down, like for the NFL to make a concerted effort to go talk to college head coaches or black assistant head coaches or other minorities as well, to prepare them for what could happen, because it's a trend we're seeing, right? We're looking for this new hot young head coach coming up. You're likely going to find those guys who go on the training grounds of college football. Has it trickled down at all?
Absolutely. There's a list of college coaches as well that the NFL does outreach to, one, to gauge interest, but two, if they are going to make that jump. I mean, we've seen so many guys really successful in college jump to the NFL, and it just hasn't worked out. So, want to make sure that if there are college coaches wanting to make that jump, that they understand the differences and learn from some of the quote mistakes of their predecessors, because also too, I mean, it doesn't do anybody good if somebody is a first-time head coach and they fail. It doesn't do the team any good, doesn't do the league any good, doesn't do the fans any good. So you want to just try to prepare those guys as best you can. But as we know, it is a tough business.
Now, Matt, we're talking to Matt Birk, a former offensive lineman, a great offensive lineman for the Ravens and the Vikings. We had a conversation a little bit earlier about the Pro Bowl. Did you get involved at all with the Pro Bowl in your capacities? Because I feel like it's been devalued. You went to 6 of these, and you were all pro 2 times. So you know the value of being all pro versus being a Pro Bowler. Has it been devalued because so many guys don't want to go anymore?
Yeah, I think it has, honestly, Tiki. And I don't know why. When I was going in the early 2000s, I mean, everybody went, and when I say everybody, I think it started with the quarterbacks. But I mean, I look at Peyton Manning. I don't think Peyton Manning ever missed a Pro Bowl that he was elected to, and that really set the tone. I mean, that was shoot. If Peyton Manning's here, I mean, who am I to turn it down? I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but anybody? How can anybody turn it down if Peyton's there? And it really was. You would have a few guys that would have to bow out because of injuries, real or made up, maybe. But for the most part, everybody went. And now it just seems like you could probably have 2 Pro Bowl games with all the guys that end up being named to the Pro Bowl. And I don't know why that is. It's certainly something that we're trying to figure out as a league. The game's always been an exhibition, but it seems like, especially a few years ago, that the level of competition or almost level of effort that was going on out there really dropped off. But it's a hard nut to crack from the standpoint that all all-star games are, but especially football, because physicality is such a huge part of the game. And you're talking about after the season, after a long season for guys that haven't put the pads on for a month, to go out there and ask them to fly around is almost impossible to do.
Yeah, some of our callers and tweeters said flag football. That would never go.
No, flag football. I mean, I think that would be, from a fan standpoint, I think that'd be more boring than what goes on right now.